Welcome Srushti to the session. Today we are doing the fifth episode of Career Journeys, and we have with you, and you are there with us. And before we go, if you give me permission, I would like to introduce you to the session.
Sure.
Thank you. Welcome to the fifth episode of Career Journeys, Real World Year Insight, where we delve into various career paths and study skills to help you navigate the academic and professional journey. Today, we have an extraordinary guest joining us from the dynamic world of marketing and communications. With over 2 decades of experience in marketing and corporate communications, she is a true leader in her field, currently spearheading the communication functions at IKS Health, a prominent provider of data-driven solutions for healthcare providers. She brings both creative flair and strategic vision to the role. From crafting compelling leadership messages to managing public relations and social media, she covers a wide variety of areas, including team management, crisis communication, and corporate social responsibility. But that's not all. Beyond her corporate achievement, Srushti is a passionate artist and author with a background in fine arts and a postgraduate certificate in Indian aesthetics. Her paintings have graced solo and group shows, earning her accolades such as Bharat Nirmal Award. Congratulations. Additionally, she's a published author of contemporary romance fiction and maintains a thought-provoking blog on women, feminism, and parenting. Her academic credentials are just as impressive, having completed the Senior Management Program from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, and Center for Executive Excellence Program from Indian School of Business. Furthermore, she holds a master's degree in psychology. Our guest, Srushti Rao's mission is very clear: to utilize her practical and creative thinking, exceptional communication skills, and domain expertise to create value and impact for her organization, clients, and community. Join me in welcoming our guest as we deep dive into her journey, glean insights into the world of marketing, communications, and beyond. With this, I would like you to take over and introduce yourself and share something about your career journey with the people and students we have.
Thank you, Sachi. I mean, after your introduction, I don't think I have much to say. You have covered most of it. But I think I would like to introduce myself as an artistic communicator and a storyteller. And I think those are the two terms that I would associate with what I do, both as my day job and as my passion. So, yeah, that kind of.
Thank you. I just added it up.
So I think to talk about myself, my journey is I think always been a creative person as a child as well, and it was of course natural for me to take on studies that were creative. In my time, the intelligence, so to say, the intelligent students or people who would study would take biology and maths in their 11th and 12th grade. And I followed that as well, although I knew in the back of my head that I always wanted to do something creative. But the options weren't as open as they are today for today's students. They were pretty limited. And if you had to prove to someone that you have brains worth a dime, then you have to study bio and maths, and that's what I did. However, I was, I think, lucky enough to stumble upon creative courses because that isn't an insight, at least we had during our time. So I stumbled upon a fine arts course, which is a 4-year graduation. I was completely blank in this area. I knew engineering, doctor, that's what you got to do, architecture for those who were with creative minds. But finance was something that was rare, and I stumbled upon it. I spoke with my parents, and I was like, you know what, I have done my 11th and 12th in biology and math, and I've proved that I have brains. um, now I need to do something creative. But then they were supportive enough to kind of let me do what I wanted to do as part of my graduation. So
So
yeah,
taking up
that's my initial.
11th and 12th PCMB, both the
Yeah,
subjects you took.
correct.
So was it to prove it that you were a brainy person?
No, actually, not to prove to anyone other than I think. I mean, that was the natural course, right? If you get decent enough grades,
Hmm.
I think, what, first five, first six ranks. That's what I used to be in school. Although math wasn't something I would rejoice, but I was a good student, and that was a natural. It wasn't something
Even
off, but
yeah, even now that the trend is still continuing. The students who are in the top and they get good marks in biology and maths, they continue taking PCMB so that they are not leaving any options for them.
yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Actually, I was inclined to do arts, and you know, rather than my parents, my relatives were horrified. They were like, arts was for those tailenders during my time. You know, the tailenders would take arts, and they were
Exactly.
horrified when I said no, but I may want to learn architecture or architecture. I couldn't get into, but with arts, but I may want to do anthropology. I may want to do archaeology. You know, those were because those are also creative fields, and I love history. I live off history books at this point in time. So I'm actually digging deep. My next book will be something around. It's a little dated story that I'm going to write. But I was passionate about it. But my relatives were horrified. They were like, arts. Mother, you don't have brains if you're getting into arts. And that's really not a good thing, you know, because I was so passionate about the subjects, especially history, and I didn't get to learn that in school.
Hmm.
But thankfully, that was part of my course in college. So I got to learn history, philosophy uh, in college, and that was, I think, amazing. And I loved reading about history and philosophy in college.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And we still would like to know what made you jump from PCMB to directly fine arts? Even though there was a lot of protest happening at the back and your parents supported you, but what was that one thing which made you jump from PCMB to fine arts? Was it your passion or it inner calling or something was you were looking ahead or you were inspired by someone?
As I said, that in school I wasn't aware that there is something like BFA because my father's an engineer. My mom was a school teacher, but very traditional. She was a primary school teacher, government school. Uh, but they all knew you have to do BE or MBBS, and that's the category I was pushed into initially by my parents, and then eventually we searched a lot, and there were courses on you know how you in 12th you kind of start 11 12 start looking around for courses what you actually want to do, and believe you me, all my books, the last 10 pages used to be drawings. They would all be drawings, and I knew that I want to do something creative. uh, and I searched for courses, and I had economics courses, I had business BBA, business administration, so on and so forth. But nothing really, I think, enticed me as much when I went to the college where I did my fine arts degree. I went to the college, I spent time with the students there. Um, and I think the whole vibe of the place was so good. I told my dad that this is where I want to be, and in fact, I told him I'll do it for a year, and if it doesn't make sense, you know, I can always move to architecture because that was the second best choice I had, or that's what I wanted to do.
So basically, it was your inner calling, and you were searching various
Yeah,
other places where you would actually like to work in.
yeah,
And at that time, the doing fine arts, even today, people, even parents and students say fine arts is something last. But for you, when you went into that place, you felt like getting connected with that tribe.
yeah.
And that was pulling you and holding you back. And you were ready to take risk for 1 year to test yourself.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. I think where I actually had a backup in my head, and all parents want you to do that. My father was like, "What do you eventually want to do?" I said, "I would get into advertising and marketing." Um, and I've always had a good command on my language. I've always had good writing skills. So that isn't something I had to study really, because that is innately what I am. So I was assured that no matter what graduation I do, I will get into an advertising job or advertising role. Um, and I think that's how it gave me the courage of doing what I did. And in school, I was a year ahead of my classmates. So I was 17 when I completed my 12th grade. Um, and most of my classmates were 18, at the time. So I had that 1 year to spare as it is. So rather, and most of my classmates, because PCMB take a year drop, to get into good colleges. So I'm like, my classmates are taking drop. I don't want to do that. It's a gap year now. I think now they call it a gap year.
Yes.
So I say I don't want to do a gap year. I did rather study for a year, see if this works for me, and then if it doesn't, then I'll do something else. But that's how it.
So, do you advise students who want to take up marketing and advertising to go for fine arts as a graduation degree or some other courses?
Actually, graduation doesn't really matter in marketing. Uh, in marketing, I think that it's a layered answer, because one is you need to innately have the personality to be able to take up marketing, because it's very fast paced. You need to have a good grip on language. You need to have a good grip on what's happening around you. You need to be a fast thinker. You need to have the personality for it. Basically, the gift of the gap. You need to be able to sell things. You need to be able to have creative thinking. So even if you can't draw paint, that doesn't really matter. You don't need to be able to draw, paint, or be a designer yourself, but you need to have the ability to be able to decipher visual concepts. So even if you can't, draw, it's all right. But if you're able to associate certain visual concepts with certain messaging, then you're a marketing. So that's how it is.
So,
So
first,
graduation doesn't really impact. It's what you do after graduation that would matter.
so you did fine arts and then you went into marketing. And according to you, the degree and the undergraduate degree doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you're a creative person, do fine arts.
Hmm.
I would always say if you like to draw, paint, whatever, do fine arts. Today there are many more options people have, which I didn't have during my time. There's I think a degree in branding and communication, which wasn't there before. So I would recommend people to do that. There are a lot of uh, colleges who are offering these degrees. There is a degree in fashion communication. There is a degree in product design. So these were the options that were available to us. So if you know how to draw, paint, and you want to get into the commercial part of it, then perhaps these are the degrees you need to um, look at or explore. And if you're a pure play artist, Bachelor's of Fine Arts is essentially for someone who's an artist. It so the course that I didn't teach us how to sell anything. It only taught us how to paint. It only taught us about history. It taught us about philosophy. So it made us, those very intense artists. That's what it makes out of you. If you don't have the backing that I had in terms of the language and the personality, then perhaps a course in fine arts will only make you an artist. Nothing over and above that. It will just make you a artist. And if you want to do that, that's a very good course to do. But if you have the other aspects to your personality, then perhaps this is something you could do if you want to get into marketing, because it is always an added advantage. When I'm hiring people for my team, if you have a BFA, I'll give you that preference, because it already shows that you're able to understand visual concepts.
Yeah. So for students and parents who are listening to this live telecast, the skills required to succeed in this field are high-paced environment. You have to be very high-paced. Then you need to have a grip on the languages. Then you have to be very fast thinker. You have to be creative thinker, and you should be able to decipher visual concepts. Also, if you have a good flair of writing and communications, then you can be very good in the commercial arts field. And you can also go for degrees in fashion, communication, or product designing. But
Yeah,
if you
and there
want,
is also branding and corporate communication degrees available.
so branding and corporate communication.
Yeah, and there is also BMS, which is
Bachelor's of Mass
media
Communication,
studies. No,
Media
bachelor
and Studies.
yeah.
Bachelor's of Media and Studies. But if you want to go into pure arts, Bachelor of Fine Arts is the best course available for you. Thank you for sharing that. Now, with this, you, after completing Bachelor's in Fine Arts, how did you landed up in marketing and communication job? That's again not matching over here.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what happened. I did what typically graduates of fine arts do. I landed up art direction role in films in Bollywood, and I worked with some of the best production houses at the time, and some very well-known movies. But I did that for about a year's time, because at the time when I had joined Bollywood, it was not an organized industry like it is today. So there was no certainty of work. There were no benefits, perks, privileges that you had as a technician in the industry, because you were essentially freelancer or self-employed, which becomes difficult when you're a youngster, because you don't know where the next project is coming from. Also, it can be an overwhelming space to be in when if you don't have someone over you looking after you. So at the time I left, after a year, I worked on some very beautiful projects with some very good production houses. But after a year, it had become overwhelming for me. So I moved to advertising at the time. So I started doing advertising, event management, which is again something that comes with the flair. Alongside my college, I managed a lot of events. And that was something I did over and above my education. Um, and that's how I got into advertising and events. And from there, rather than be in the creative team, I was put into the marketing team because I can speak, right? And then from there it started. Then I joined a corporate in the marketing team, so on and so forth. So after that, I think it was very natural progression, because I didn't really move here and there. I moved where my career took me and where opportunities took.
So did you do any bridging course before getting into advertising, or it was an opportunity that was coming?
It was just an opportunity. I didn't do a bridging course. Yeah, I didn't have to at the time. But I think now, because of how the industry is, and
Your voice is not coming.
are you able to hear? I am in the same network. Are you able to hear now?
It's not audible at all.
Not audible at all.
Very slightly audible.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And we are loving the background you have, and it's really inspiring. Now, going ahead, from your experience in this field, what opportunities do you see in the current landscape of marketing and communications for two types of students? One, who are yet to enter, and second, who have already completed their education and are about to start working.
Yeah. I think the opportunities are tremendous from where I see it, but also the competition is very high. So for students at the moment, what I recommend is to specialize as much as they can to gather as much um, knowledge as they can, and the best knowledge gained is by education, by study. Uh, and there are so many courses that are available for writing, for coming to know of how to use AI tools. Because when I talk to a lot of people about AI, they're like about writing, they're like, AI can do all of that, but how to correctly use these tools, that's so important. To be able to have knowledge about how situations are managed, because that is something that the AI can't do. So how do you make yourself important and indispensable? Um, so to do that, to gain people skills, I think the most important thing to become a good communicator or marketeer is to have good people skills, because you're not just selling a product, you're also interfacing with or interacting with so many people and so many um, types of personalities. So how do you manage that? That becomes very important, and that can be a differentiator between uh, two people. Who's a better people manager will always get uh, the preference, as opposed to somebody who is just who has just a lot of bookish knowledge.
Thank you for sharing. So students and parents who are listening to this, the basic prerequisite is knowledge in this field, followed by skills of doing some writing courses and how to use AI tools correctly. But if you want to make yourself indispensable, the most important skill which you need to learn before entering and even practice is people's skill. So would you like to share with the students how can they acquire this skill? Because it's something which is not taught in schools or at graduation or post-graduation. No one will teach them. So how can they acquire this skill?
People skill?
Yeah.
Wow. uh, some people are innately good at managing people, and the others could possibly put themselves in spaces where they get to interact with a lot of people. Like if you're in a classroom setting, and I think there's an effort that people will have to put in from there. And as you correctly said, that this is not taught in school, this is not taught in colleges. And it is so sad that it is not, because it is one of the most crucial skills that we need today. Because everything else AI can do, but managing people is something that only people can do. So maybe do role plays, take help of your friends, parents, relatives. Try to manage difficult relatives. I think that will be the best role play people can do. And that's what people management is about. I think the term for it is emotional intelligence. And if they can learn about emotional intelligence, I know there are a lot of certificate courses on emotional intelligence, and they tell you about situations that can be managed or handled if you are able to manage and handle yourself. If they do these courses and then put that into action in their life, I think that could help. I think that's the only answer.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
definitely that will help the students. For students who are listening this session and parents over here, people management skill is something which you need to acquire at any time you identify that you want to acquire this skill. Now, it can be done either in the schools or in the graduation or in the workplace as well. And to acquire this skill, the first thing which you need to learn is emotional management. The moment you are able to identify your emotions and manage them, and what are the different methods, and this technique, even in your school, if you are participating in the class discussions, presentations, debates, elocutions, competitive examinations, and also presentations, workshops, seminars, exhibitions, captains, vice captains, at all these places you are actually practicing this particular skill by default. But now you need to practice it by design, as Shruti has shared, that it's a very important skill which you need to learn.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you
I think one of the things that I keep telling my son also that you need to play a sport. You need to play two types of sport when you're growing up. One is an individual sport uh, because it teaches you to push your own limits. And the other is a team sport because it teaches you to um, operate within a team setting with the rules of a game. How to manage opposition, how to manage your own teammates, how to manage their personalities, their moods. So I think the students, it's important if they're still in school or in college to play two types of sport. One is an individual sport because that will develop their individual personality and teach them about discipline and pushing the self. And the second is a team sport, any team sport that will teach you people management, interaction, uh, and the importance of doing things together because one person cannot win a team sport, right? All of you have to win.
That's a very good sharing. Students, when they move to 9th and 10th standard and 11th, 12th, they just prepare for exams, entrances, and sports, and everything is a side by. So for every career option, whenever we bring in people, so they all advise students playing sports, which means this is something very, very important. And you should not sacrifice sports at any stage of your career development or in
Not,
studies. And if you want to know the examples of single sports, it can be something like chess, and team sports can be football, right? Or it can be a volleyball, or it can be a cricket one. So two sports is mandatory to develop people management skills. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Now, we have another question for you. Now, students who want to enter into the field of marketing and communications, do you have any suggestions that they should be doing a particular course before entering into this field? How do you identify that they have a flair in this field?
so typically, now we hire people who have done MBA in marketing. That has become the norm and a mandate. So if you're not a creative person, you need to have an MBA in marketing. Otherwise, it really becomes difficult if you already don't have a good portfolio. So I think MBA in marketing is something that is essential to get into marketing and communications. The other education bit that you can do is mass comm, mass communications, and journalism and advertising. So these are the four courses that are available. Mass comm, journalism, and advertising are available at the graduation level as well. And MBA in marketing is, of course, post graduation.
So students can do mass comm or mass communication in graduation level and MBA in post graduation level. Yeah.
That's correct. MBA in marketing.
MBA in marketing or marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
Can you share what type of work is required from morning to evening? What is the work role of a person who is handling marketing and communication? Especially yours is internal and external communication. Yeah. So what is the work which you do?
Okay. That's a loaded question because now I have to introspect in what I actually
Students do come and ask, ma'am, okay, this is fine. This is what is the it, but what will I do from morning till evening? Can you explain that?
So I'll tell you, so I will go a little few years behind because right now I'm at a senior level. So what would you typically do depending on the kind of organization you're in? Suppose we take, for example, you're selling services. You're in a IT company, right? You're in the marketing department of a technology company. You would typically understand what products there are. So you would go to an SME, which is a subject matter expert within the organization. You will try to understand what the product does. Then you will go to the product manager and then you will understand the features of the product, which are the USPs and how the product is different from the competitors in the market. Then you will do a market research to understand what are your competitors. You will put the key points. Suppose your product is for 100 rupees. What does the 120 rupees product do? What does the 80 rupees product do? You know, who are the consumers of 120 rupees product? What are the consumers of the 80 rupees product? And why is your product at 100 rupees? So you're trying to justify that 100 rupees. Your product manager has told you it's a 100 rupees product. Marketing people can also get into product management and brand management. That's a side career as well. So once you have understood the entire DNA of what the company is creating, selling, how it is selling, you have to then figure out how are you creating an audience for your product, how are you creating awareness, how are you creating the interest. So first is awareness, then is the interest, and then how are you pulling those individuals to buy your product or interact with your product. And then, of course, comes the sales. In some organizations, marketing and sales is one function. In some organizations, it's different. So then the sales happen. But all through this journey, you're creating a story for your product. Why will I buy a particular product? Why do I buy Samsung and why do I not buy LG? What kind of people does Samsung uh, interest, and they go for Samsung as opposed to LG because of some of the stories that they listen or the advertisements that they watch. Now, within all of this, you also create an advertisement for, this is my product, this is what I've understood of the product, this is what it does, this is how it is different. And there's a lot of science, math, psychology, consumer behavior, market research, all of that coming together for that 30-second advert that you see. So there, months and months of research, work, all of that. So that's one aspect. That's the long-term campaign that we are talking about. Then one of the things that I do, which is social media. So for example, we manage the social media for the brand. Now, what are you putting on the social media? How you're engaging your audience? Today, it's a clutter of content. How are you putting a message across, keeping your product inspiring, engaging, yet not really selling? Because if people come to know that you're selling something to them, they will not engage with your brand anymore, right? So at what point is there a give and take happening between the brand and the audience? That is something you have to balance and think about and create content. So today, a lot of marketing and communication is content creation. It's constantly creating content which is new and fresh and exchanging knowledge and all of that. So keeping the audience engaged and not and keeping the message on point, which is difficult. For me, it's when I talk about it, it's something I do every day. So it for me it is oh, I did it in a day's job, but I think that's the delicate balance that one has to learn and engage with. And in this, people have to learn a lot of case studies because a lot of brands have done a lot of things in the past. How do you learn what the brands have done? Like, why is Starbucks? Why would you go and drink a 400 rupees coffee? What has Starbucks done? So learn about Starbucks. How did they create the brand equity? Why is Coke Coke today? Why is it so popular even after so many decades, despite all the controversies around how unhealthy the drink is? There is some hope, right, that the people have been able to create. How are they keeping it up? How are they not letting it die? So that's what the marketing and communications teams are doing. In communication, we also do a lot of public relations. Public relations is essentially keeping in touch with the media, newspapers, online publications, journalists, making sure that the right story is being told. And if there is some crisis with the brand or some negative stories or um, mm, something that can have a blemish on the reputation, how to manage that. So there are things like online reputation management also, which is very, very essential in today's time. That is also a segment of communication that can be done.
That covers a huge
And I'm not even
area.
touched.
That's just a part of it. And I would just summarize it in a very small word, starting with understanding the DNA of the products, which is physiology and anatomy of the product, then also understanding the pricing and creating awareness of the product, then making the product interesting and pulling the audience so that sales happens. Now, when this happens, we have to get connected on social media. And when you connect your social media, the messaging have to be engaging and engaging the audience, as well as creating the right message, the right call to action, which they need to take after reading that message. Also, to avoid pitfalls, you have to take help of the case studies, the previous success and failures of various organizations, various products, what made them successful, and when they fell down, what were the reasons why they came down, and how they are trying to maintain their status and the products and coming back from the failures. That's really, I will definitely say it's a small part of it, because this journey cannot be spoken in few words. And when you were explaining, I felt like it's a whole life revolving around a product. It's like you are dreaming, you're sleeping with this day and night. It's there in your blood and muscles. Yeah. Two questions I have for you, if allowed. Uh, a student who joins, now this is the complete half a world, let's say 20%. How do you introduce all this to the fresher who has just joined? Do you give him a specific task, a project, or they work under a team? And how much time does it take for them to take up at least one project on their own? Is it few months or a years?
Yeah. So, so an intern, if suppose an intern joins my team, they would essentially be the runners initially. They would be observing what the team does, and they would be more of they would be doing smaller works like talk to the vendor, make sure this thing reaches on time, make sure that everything is available for the campaign. So they'll be making calls to the vendors. They'll be trying to understand the tactical aspect of the role. So a lot of tactical work will be done. That too, very entry level tactical work. As they um, start working, do more stuff, they quite start gaining experience, and their tactical, then the universe of tactical work increases. While it remains tactical for quite a long time, like 5 to 8 years, I think it will be tactical because um, people do not, and there could be exceptions. I'm just giving you a generalized standard. People do not understand how to develop and execute a campaign. While I could think that I am the queen of whichever place, but that's not the truth. You need to gain a certain experience to be able to understand if this is a campaign that I want to run, or if this is a story that I want to run with. What could be the negatives? What could be the positives? What is better that I could do with this? And what resources I already have that can be engaged with it? Or what are the other resources that I will need? does this fit my budget? Does it not? What is the ROI that I will get from this? Even if you talk in terms of engagement, if you talk in terms of sales, if you talk in terms of whatever is your currency that you're measuring in. Um, so it takes about, I think, 5 to 8 years to be able to manage campaigns on your own. And then once you're hit that level, I think people start independently managing campaigns, and then they work with the team. Of course, I am very old in this. I have 22 years of experience, so now I manage the whole team and the communications for the entire organization. But then I have people under me who are managing certain verticals. So I have someone who manages the social media. I have someone who manages internal communications. I have someone who manages graphic design, so on and so forth. So um, all of these, then you start becoming vertical leads for separate things.
That's a very, very important learning for the students who think that the moment they join the organization, they will be handed over a project single-handedly. That's a misconception they are having. Please enter the organizations and the workforce with an open mindset. It will take minimum 5 to 8 years if you're willing to learn at each step. With every project you're working under your seniors, under your bosses, please be willing to learn what they're teaching you and take actions, learn, be a obedient student, and just listen to your mentors who have been in this field. Is that
And
the message you have?
learning never stops, Hachi. I'm still learning. I'm
Yes.
still learning. Every campaign, every day, I learn something new. Uh, I make mistakes, and I do. And I'm telling you, I'm so cautious, and I make mistakes. And my role is so crucial. I'll tell you, for operations, if they make mistake, only two people see it: themselves and their supervisor. If I make a mistake, lakhs and crores of people are looking at it because it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there for the world to see. I'm still learning. I am still learning. I look up to not just people above me, but I also learn from people who are working with me or are far junior in the titles. But every time you learn from people, and conversations need to happen because marketing and communications is about communicating, right? So the more you are open to ideas, not just giving them, but taking them.
So students, you should be willing to learn, be consistent, persistent, with an open mindset and with a positive attitude that yes, you will also be getting some projects someday, which you will be able to handle on your own. But till then, utilize the support system you have for your mentors. Definitely, this is needed for today's generation, which are just coming saying, I want to quickly start earning and get that big designation. That doesn't happen in a day. Thank you for sharing. Before we move ahead, you have been into this field and you have been talking and communicating to people, which means a lot of networking is happening. How do students start networking even before entering this field? And how, because right now technology is available, LinkedIn, social media, Instagram, everything is available. And when they are studying as a student, let's say graduation, what steps they should take to start networking so that they end up in a right, at least internship job immediately after getting into completing their education?
Yeah. So networking again, why are you doing networking? That the objective for that should be set. I think networking is often mistaken term. For students, at least networking should be to gain as much as you can, knowledge as much as you can from as many people as you can. As I said, you need to learn from brands, follow heads of the brands. What kind of content are they posting? Where are they going? What are the conferences they are attending? Live sessions like you are doing, register for these things, listen to people. There's so much out there, and cut the noise. You need to be able to understand how to cut noise and gain as much as knowledge as you can through this. So networking often is a mistaken term. Networking is not about going out for coffee with a bunch of senior folks, because maybe I just don't have the time to indulge with a 20-year-old one-on-one, because I just don't have the time, and there's nothing personal in this, Maybe I'm just so busy. So when people are talking on forums, senior folks are talking on forums, go listen to that. People are kind enough, if you walk to them and ask a question or two, they'll be happy to answer that, because we also need strong people in the workforce today, because we want people in our teams that are able to take on that responsibility eventually, because we don't want to keep doing tactical work throughout our lives, right? So we are creating leaders of tomorrow, and people will be happy to answer. But again, how do you understand networking is uh, the whole point. I think networking for a student should be about gaining knowledge, and not necessarily about gaining connections. Connections will happen. The more you attend conferences, seminars, so on and so forth, you will gain those connections. But you need to be able to be worth the time, or the first sentence that you speak to someone should be even worth for them to turn around and say, okay, I'm interested in this conversation. What do you have to say?
Thank you for sharing that definition of networking for the students. So for students, if you want to go ahead with the networking, first define whom you want to network with. What is your goal of doing that particular networking? Not necessarily you need to call up and have one-to-one call or messages or WhatsApp. You can go attend conferences, seminars, workshops, presentations, and be willing to take an action to go and speak. That's the most important area. If you want to be in create a mark in the field of marketing and communications, be willing to communicate what you have in your mind to the person who are already there in the field. And definitely, if you are willing, there are people to handhold you. Thank you for sharing that. Now, the next question which we have for you is, how do you stay adaptable in an industry? Like when you started, the situations were different. Now it's different. So one is continuously learning. But how has the AI and everything changed the way the industry is working now? What is difference in the previous marketing and communication and the one coming up now?
So the pace has increased, and it has increased tremendously, because every day there's something new. So we can't sit back, we have made this campaign, it will run for 6 months. Because back in the days, we used to make one campaign and it would run for 6 months, and we used to be like, okay, we just have to monitor this. But today, that's not the case. Today, you have to constantly be on your toes. Look at what new technology is coming. How does it impact? Um, for example, a chat GPT has changed our industry tremendously. While it has not replaced content writers, but it has replaced the way we look at content today. Like, it has reduced our man hours of research. Today,
Yeah.
I'm not sure till when I was audible.
So we were talking about chat GPT. It's replacing, but then it can be utilized.
Yeah, it can be utilized, because it's not actually replaced content writers, but it has increased the pace at which content can be created, and the research for the content has gone dramatically down. Because we used to spend hours and days and months on research. Today, at the click of a button, we can get research, although it has to be validated, because chat GPT can go wrong, because it spouts out what has been given to it, and if wrong information is fed, then it gives out wrong information. But it is helpful nonetheless to be able to reduce the number of hours you give to researching, rather than it has increased the number of hours you can give to thinking of a particular ideas and to be able to manage those ideas and campaigns. So for a professional today, it's very important to be updated with the changing technology, to be updated with the changing landscape of what's new in the market, where your target audience is, what is it listening to, whether the people that you're selling to is watching IPL or the elections debate. You know, for a marketer, it's very important to understand. So constantly learning, keeping on your toes, learning about technology, getting as much as I still do certifications. I continue doing it. And it's very important because everything is changing at a fast pace. You know, there are regulations that are changing. I'm in healthcare, so healthcare regulations are constantly changing. So to keep updated to that, marketing and communications one side and the industry one side, you know, how do you marry the both of them? That also you have to keep looking.
So students need to take care of the pace at which the content creation is happening. Now, AI has reduced the time, but human intervention, human touch has been reduced. So if they can bring back that human touch through their own creative ideas, they will be at a competitive edge compared to the other students and other people, as well as they have to keep themselves updated with the rules and regulations of the healthcare industry. Now, marketing and communications in healthcare industry is something you have been, but how is the marketing and communication from sector to sector different, or is it same throughout? Let's say IT sector and maybe education sector, if it is possible for you to share some insight.
Yeah, I've been across industries, so this is like a easy question from my point of view. So when I say marketing and communications need not be SMEs. You know, we have SMEs that we can go to and understand about the product. Marketing and communications people need to be very good storytellers and content creators. That's the baseline, and you need to be able to grasp whatever industry you're in, the nuances of that industry quickly. You don't really need to be an expert. You just need to understand what your product is, what your industry is, and you need to be good in research. And I think a good storyteller is industry agnostic, because if you tie yourself down to an industry, you may get irrelevant after a while. Again, this is one school of thought. You know, there are other school of thoughts also that you need to be an industry specialist. But I come from the other school of thought where I think storytellers need to be industry agnostic. You need to be a good storyteller to be marketing communications rather than an industry expert.
That's a really important insight which students should know, that industry doesn't matter. It's the skills which you have matter the most. To be successful in this field, you have to be a very good storyteller. You should have very good communication skills, and you should be very good in researching. These are the 3 points, areas you have to excel. And this is something which you can start developing even when you're school and graduation. There's no limit to when to start and when not to start.
I think students, one note I'll give to school students is take your projects seriously. When teachers give you, if you want to do marketing and communication, I think one of the best places to learn is school projects. When they give you team projects, individual projects, take it seriously because a lot of ideas come.
I am surprised because students say they have been saying that schools don't add value. But every time I talk to any industry experts, they all have derived their learnings and they say school will teach you this. Take your projects seriously. So schools are important. Take them seriously. Whatever extracurricular activities, sports, education, everything is important. And bless you, the Indian education system is really good because it's teaching you everything. So please take these things seriously. Thank you for highlighting it again. I have one last question with your permission. Now, you have done PCMB, then you went to fine arts, and then to then you went over to movies, art studio, and then you came back to marketing and advertising. If a student, let's say in 8th, 9th, 10th, and they're very passionate about it, how should they go about? Should they go for assessments or they should listen to their inner calling? What subjects, streams they should
Yeah.
pick up
Um,
in 11, 12, graduation, post-graduation? Can you just give a brief of what the education journey for students who know that they want to get into this and they want to craft their education journey?
Yeah. So, for marketing and communications, how good are you in extracurricular activities, in school? So that's one test there. Do you get excited? Do you get excited with annual days? Do you get excited? Do you want to do things? Do you want to do projects? So that would automatically say whether you're academically driven or people and project driven. So that is one way of understanding. And I think there are a lot of aptitude tests also nowadays,
Yeah,
which can
we
tell
we
you.
also conduct psychometric
Yeah,
assessments.
yeah. So psychometric tests are a very good tool to understand what you want to do, because a lot of times, what, the brain is not developed as a teenager. So you may think you want to do marketing and communications, but what if you don't have what it takes to be that? So do a aptitude test, do a psychometric test, because that kind of dives deeper into your subconscious and brings that self out. Maybe you're academic at heart, and you're a person who would like to sit in closed door and just type through your computer. But marketing is not that role. You have to meet so many people, talk to so many people, be high energy through the day. But if that's not what you are, then maybe it will be tough. I wouldn't say that you'll fail at it. It would just be a drag every day, because I love what I do. I think I'm just best suited to what I do. Campaigns excite me. Every small thing excites me in life, and that's how a branding, marketing, communication person should be, um, excited about the next new thing. Uh, and I think, yeah, psychometric tests are important.
So students who are right now in 8th, 9th, 10th, and they feel they should be going and taking up this field. First homework for you, test yourself. Do you feel excited? Do you feel energetic? Do you want to be more inclined towards talking to people or more towards studies in a confined room and working on laptops and computers? That's one test for you. Second test for you, go for career assessments, which can help you to go deep into your subconscious mind and help you to discover who you really are. And then you can start taking up courses, maybe some short term job shadowing, internships, and find out whether you're really interested in or not. And then maybe you can take it up as a full fledged career.
Absolutely.
Whatever we discussed today was very important and that's very insightful. Do you have any last one word which you want to share with your students? Like, assuming now you are over here, but when you started your journey, there was someone to tell you, Shushti, do this, or this is what you need to do. So, any one word or any advice to the students you have?
Wow.
If you have to advise your younger self, this is young Srushti now.
I think I'm doing okay, so I wouldn't want to advise myself any different. But I think, uh, don't give in to peer pressure. Don't give in to, I was talking to a young student just 2 days ago, a friend's daughter, and she was like, auntie, if I get into this particular college, people will laugh at me. Don't get into that. If it works for you, it works for you. I think one thing that youngsters need to know is other people's opinion don't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of it, they're not going to come pay your bills, or help you in your career. Just do what you. And I think, uh, it's a combination. Listen to your inner self. Explore as much you can, get as much information as you can, and talk to your parents. parents. I think it's so important. I don't actually, I've always had supportive parents, so I don't know how it is with parents pressurizing their children. But I think talk to them. Anyone is open to discussion. But I don't know. It can be individual situations with people, but don't give into peer pressure is what I say.
That's a very, very useful advice. Don't give in to the peer pressure. Do not follow or think what others will talk about you. Do self introspection, talk to people, and then consciously take decisions what you feel is driving you from inner. Yeah, that's a really important lesson for the students. Do not give up. Whatever you have decided you want to do, please go ahead and follow your heart and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Srushti, and for coming today and sharing your career journey with the students. And definitely it's going to help many students shape their careers. And if any students have questions, they will connect with you maybe on your social media. Thank you for coming over here, accepting this offer and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you, Sachi. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. With this note, we would like to end the session. Thank you, Manpreet.